What's going on, all you gamers? Here we are back in Outriders the game, and today I'm going to be going over a few tips on how you can level up really fast and level those world tiers ridiculously easy in Outriders the game. So if that interests you, then stay tuned, that's coming up next. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things Xbox, for all things Outriders, why not hit that subscribe and bell icon, and I'll bring you all the latest and greatest in gaming and a lot more Outriders on the way. But today you're here to find out how to level up your world tier level really fast and really nicely. Now here's one thing that I would honestly say is the main thing that you need to remember. The fastest way to level up your world tiers is simply by progressing in the game and not dying. Every time you die in this game, it takes a big chunk away from your world tier. So think of it as kind of a gated tier as such. So if you're playing hard difficulty that is far too hard for yourself, because world tiers are essentially difficulty levels, then it's going to tell you that, and it's going to tell you that by killing you and making it so that you will not be able to progress to the next world tier, i.e. the next difficulty. So with that being said, if you're trying to get to that endgame content really fast, if you're not worried about kind of characters as such and you don't have a preference, there will be characters that will be able to progress slightly easier than others, I would say. So if you're not worried about the character class that you're going to be choosing, as you just want to see what that endgame's about, then there will be classes that help you get there a little bit easier. One such class will definitely be the Devastator. If, however, you didn't want to pick this, Trickster would be a close second. I would say the squishiest and the hardest to get there, especially in solo play, will probably be Pyromancer, but I think we can still get there with that as well. Now remember, this is based off of the demo, and once the full game is out, I will show you exactly all the best places to farm to get that experience really fast. So with that out of the way, you now know there's certain classes that will have a slightly easier time with it, not meaning that the others can't get there, they all can get there 100%. Some will just find it a little bit easier to kind of have that survivability about themselves. Now another thing, if you are playing a certain class, so say for example the Pyromancer, I probably, well hopefully, will not be putting certain moves in my endgame, but for leveling up and to make sure that I'm not dying, things such as this will be my setup in game at the moment for farming and trying to get legendaries. If however I'm trying to get my world tier up, I will almost definitely have to swap this one out and put in some kind of healing effect or some way to generate health, so I'd probably chuck this one on, Feed the Flames. That way I've got a slightly more overall build, and if I do get myself in a bit of trouble, I can get a bit of health back that way rather than actually killing the ads. So remember, this game actually rewards you by playing offensively. This is not a defensive game, this is an offensive game. Everything about getting health back is generated through getting kills as such, marking enemies, absolutely destroying your foes. One way, and the best way in game to level up your world tier currently, is to make sure you are massacring lots of enemies very fast. So here we are with Mr. Chang, good old Mr. Chang, back at Riftan. Very start of the game, just after the prologue.
See what wonders I have.
So if I press accept and skip everything, because things don't go well for Mr. Chang, he's definitely not in the second one, but now you can see I've got a quest. A bad day. So repeatable quests are actually very good. If you find repeatable quests with a very large area or cluster of ads, do those. The main thing to remember, you do not want to be doing a quest where, say for example, you want loot and you're going to kill an elite, and then after that you're going to die to try and kind of get a legendary or some really good gear. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be able to complete the whole quest and then go back and repeat it again. No deaths, nice and easy, and make sure you can do it as fast as possible. Right, so on your missions, how will you actually make sure you get that experience? Well, there's three key aspects. One is time. You want to be able to make sure you can clear missions or clear whatever activity you're doing as fast as possible. Number 2 would be you want to make sure that whatever you're doing has lots of ads. If you don't want to do this, you don't want to repeat quests, that's fine. Just playing the actual campaign and progressing through the game without dying will also net you an absolute ton of experience for your world tiers. It is all about keeping yourself alive and making sure that you're clearing the content as fast as possible. Next up, like I said, make sure you have some way of actually healing yourself or generating an overshield. For myself, when the actual game comes out, I will be chucking on a mod called Shield Maiden, and that one's just here. The reason I'm going to put that on is because I found it invaluable in the demo, and I think it's going to help in abundance. If you're just shooting enemies constantly and then doing your powers, you're going to make sure you've kind of got that generated overshield as such, and it's going to make it a lot easier to survive. So if I show you what I mean, now I've got Golem's Limb. It's not best suited for this as such, but it does make my class more survivable and it makes it a bit easier for myself. So what I'm going to do is just generate that kind of mitigation for myself and try and clear the ads as fast as possible. Now as you can see, once I kill this fella, he's going to cause an explosion which will clear the path a little bit easier.
Few moments later.
So remember, if you have got a special move that does kind of room clearance, should we say, then make sure you're using that. So as you saw there, loads and loads of enemies died at once. If you've got multi-target stuff, that will help absolutely in abundance. Now, most of this game is about clearing areas, getting to the end as fast as possible, and the cutscenes and such and completing the missions are only done once everything is killed. So say for example I've got all the way up here, and I've ran all the way to the end, and the cutscene should activate. Because I've left these guys back here, I've then got to run back for them. So basically use your radar and your minimap to just make sure you're clearing everything as you go. You don't want to be leaving people behind, you want to be making sure that everything is done in a timely fashion. So as you can see, that's completed now, and you're just going to make your way to the end. Now another really good repeatable farmable one is this one just here, Payback. So what you're going to do is travel to the crossroads. If you haven't unlocked that, it is literally just up that path from Riftan. You get it very early on in the game, and you're just going to repeat a quest from a soldier. So here's where the spawn point is, and we're going to just jump straight up here. Literally you're going to talk to this character here, Audrey Storm, and that's a replayable mission just here. Now the reason I'm telling you to do replayable quests such as this is because there's enemies right next to you. Literally we're going to go through this door and we're into the instance where that mission actually takes place. So the whole point is killing lots of enemies, doing the missions and progressing without dying. And again, like I said, you can see there's a lot of enemies, so what you're going to want to do is just make sure that you're killing them as you go. That way you're going to clear all of the ads and you're not going to have to worry about them coming back from and such. And again, once the last ad is cleared, so this fella just up here, they'll drop the kind of key as such for progressing and going on to the boss. Now I'm not going to show you that bit because that bit's nice and easy as well. Just make sure you've got yourself in a good place and your setup is really ideal. Another thing to remember is to make sure you put on pieces of gear that actually make it so that you will survive. So for example, if you look at your character, each piece of gear will have either anomaly power, health, or your firepower. So it will up your damage with weapons, it will up your damage with your skills, or it will just up your health as such. Another thing to remember is that the pieces of armour that you put on, especially in gear colour order, so for example white, green, blue, purple and legendary, which is kind of well, this colour just over here, kind of like a faded orange as such, legendary, or a gold, that will mean that you have more, in most times at least, more armour. More armour means you're going to negate a lot more damage. So armour decreases enemy physical damage against you. And if you do need to see that, all you're going to do is press RT on your controller and that's going to tell you all of your stats. So make sure you have enough health, some health regeneration, a bit of healing bonus if you can, and of course resistance and armour. If you're struggling, you'll need to use that chart. If you're not, you may well make your way through the world tiers really fast and not have to worry. But I would honestly say don't spec too far one side at the moment, so I wouldn't go pure into firepower or pure into anomaly power. I'd make sure I had a little bit of health for myself just to make sure that you're going to survive a bit. Right guys and girls, so I hope that's helped you a little bit. As always, as soon as I find a really good spot to farm with the most enemies, I'll bring you that once the actual game's out. But for now, make sure that you're doing exactly what I said for those world tiers. Make sure you're survivable. Make sure you're killing enemies fast. Make sure that basically you're going to clear the content as quick as possible and get onto that next stage. That's the thing for getting the world tiers up really fast. Of course, you don't have to do it that way. You can watch all the cutscenes, you can have fun with your friends, it's all well and good. Play the game how you would like to do. But if you're trying to get those world tiers up, the main thing is not dying. If you're finding it too difficult and you're dying a lot, you will be stuck on that world tier. So make sure your character is exactly how he needs to be in order to get through everything. So for myself, lots of AoE, lots of killing power, a little bit of health regen, and making sure I'm not going to die, probably from that overshield, and I think I'll be good to go. Now last but definitely not least, don't forget just progressing through the campaign is a great way to do it, or you can replay some missions or all missions if you'd like to and you found a place that's got really good spawns, but it would get a little bit tedious I feel. So I think playing the actual campaign, getting through it that way may be your best bet, even though it may not be the complete fastest way at the start. But another thing to remember is that if you are playing with your friends, that is all well and good as well. It'll be really enjoyable and you'll clear the content nice and easy as well. But I don't think you'll be clearing the content any faster, as the health and the damage of the enemies goes up drastically. So make sure you've got a good setup if you're with your friends, and they have as well, so that you're clearing in a timely fashion. Right, well you guys and girls, I'm sure I've spent enough time talking about that, but yeah, that's pretty much how you get your world tiers up at the moment. And like I said, if I find a really good spot, which I'm sure I will as soon as the game's out, I will let you know. But for all things gaming, take care. I'll see you on the next day.